Can you guys still see me? Trying to get back. Wi-Fi again. So let me put this back in the tripod and get back to it here. Anybody still there? Did I lose everybody? I bet I lost everybody. Dog. Technology. Gotta love technology. Can't live without it. Can't live with it. So, Eric Powell's still here. Glad you made it back. Sorry about that. Country living. Hopefully, guys, will gradually get back on. Tom Kelly is here. All right. All about that workshop life, where the Wi-Fi is weak and the holster game is strong. It was cutting out really bad before. Yeah, dude, Sam, I'm back. Okay. I appreciate you guys coming back in. I'm sorry about that. Technical limitations. I got lots of CNC machines, but not good Wi-Fi. I don't think I would trade a CNC machine for good Wi-Fi, but I'd like to have good Wi-Fi. So, welcome back. Something. So, again, since it's a fresh go, please like the video, share it. If anybody else was on here that doesn't come back, tell them they're lame for not coming back. They're going to miss the most fun part of the discussion. I've not had personal problems with RCS. I've talked to them a number of times in person at gun shows. I'm not sure if they know who I am. They probably know my company, but I don't know if they'd recognize me if I just walked up to them. And really, there's a way of branching out in terms of your design, your process, your product, so that you really differentiate yourself. There's no reason to just be a copycat. Like, there's so much cool stuff you can do with a holster design. Why would you want to be just a copycat? And you gotta, don't call it a comeback. Hello, Sam Cummins, welcome back. RCS has my shop bugged. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe they're just like interfering with my internet. Maybe that's the problem. But if you cultivate an attitude of like people are out to get me, I don't really worry about what other companies think about my work and who might possibly be out to get me. Be right back. It's just getting a little bit too warm in here. I just put a fan down. Hopefully that doesn't make any noise in the video. So, one of the other doors, in my business, I'm working really hard to open doors. And that means that I often spend a lot of time, I spend hours a week on the phone with holster companies that I've never talked to before, guys I've never met, and guys that haven't bought anything from me. They're not customers yet. And the tinfoil hat. Yeah. I don't know. My head's shiny enough. It's practically tinfoil already. It is warm in here. I want to open doors to more collaboration, to more communication in the industry. And there's a friendly competition, a kind of friendly competition, that exists even among companies where the owners are great friends. And that friendly competition can be like, hey, I got this a little bit faster. Or, hey, do you see this new thing that I just pulled off? I've been trying to do it, and now it works. And if you're friends with those guys, you're like, dude, that's awesome. Darn it all, his holster's better than mine now. What am I going to do to up my game, to raise the bar, to get to that next level? But also, if you have an expectation that people in the industry are out to get you, that everybody's a thief, then what happens is you lose the opportunity to collaborate. You lose the opportunity to cross-pollinate. You lose the opportunity to learn and teach because you won't interface with somebody. You won't have anything to do with them because of real or perceived problems between you and them, your company and their company. Yeah, Sam. That really loud sound is just your ego, actually. It's not the fan, it's your ego. And so I was thinking about this. I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you guys listen to Gary V. If you don't, check him out. His content is really helpful. I don't agree with everything that he does and everything that he says, but he always cuts through to real stuff. He doesn't spend a lot of time on fluff, which I appreciate. I'm a busy guy, and I like having somebody who gets right to it and tells it to me straight. And just listening to him has helped me change the way that I approach my social media marketing, changed my goals for what I'm trying to accomplish in how I market my company, and it's part of the motivation for doing these Facebook Live broadcasts. And so I want to find ways to open doors for collaboration because there are so many benefits that can accrue for the whole industry, but also for my company, your company, when we're willing to work together. All kinds of doors can open. And crowdsourcing hardware is a big one. It's been amazing and encouraging to see how many companies are willing to throw in money to get in on group buys and do things to share the cost. Yeah, and John says that he and Tom Kelly from Darkstar Gear overlap a fair bit in design but have a lot of respect for each other. You can do a lot to build respect, and I've talked to Tom about this extensively, about appendix holsters, because it's one thing to make a design that's similar to somebody else's. If they know who you are, you know who they are, you've handled their work, you've seen it up close, and you want to base your work off of it. Like, you can call somebody up and ask them for permission. It's a novel idea. Like, hey, dude, I mean, you might not know them well, or you may know them well, and just say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. It's pretty similar to this other thing that you offer. Is that going to be a problem? And it might be, it might not be. You might have to change it a little bit, work around it, or they might just say, no, it's fine. I'm trying to think who it was recently. I saw a picture on somebody's page with a concealment kit that looked an awful lot like mine. And a couple of years ago, I would have been upset about it. I would have been like, man, loser, stole my idea. Doesn't he have any originality? But now I'm not bothered. I was like, oh, cool. Like, my idea has jumped into another company. It's now, like, the DNA of my idea is in somebody else's work. And it's growing and evolving and developing there. That is cool. And that's exciting for me, to see things that I've done, that I've pushed, influence other people. That's really satisfying. Tom says, when I started doing my outside the waistband soft loops, I talked to Secret City. Dude gave me the current supplier I still use today for material and thanked me for asking. Yeah, in a lot of cases, if you call a company up and are polite and straightforward and say who you are, where you're calling from, and what you're wanting to do, the industry is much more open now than it was even 2 years ago. And that's a good general trend. That's a good direction to be moving in. I want to move farther in that direction. I want to move faster in that direction. And I want to see fewer and fewer and fewer layers of bad blood and grudges, because it slows down innovation across the entire industry. You know, we're not building space rockets. We're not dealing with unbelievably detailed, intense, proprietary information that took $500 million to develop. Like, comparatively, we make pretty simple stuff. There are a lot of nuances, there's a lot of detail, but in the grand scheme of things, these are pretty simple products. Tom, you gave me a couple tips on my inside the waistband stuff as well. And being willing, being eager to ask for critique, being eager to ask for input, for criticism from other companies, and then to not get bent about it. Like, if I send somebody a holster and I hear back from them about some feature on it they didn't like, that's some of the most valuable customer feedback I can get. Because if somebody calls me up and says, hey, I got the holster, it's 100% perfect, you know where that leaves me? Right where I am. It doesn't push me to set the bar higher. If I send somebody a holster and they say, I really like this, but I don't like this feature about it, it may be that that feature is a principle, and I intend to keep it that way, and I'm convinced that it's good that way, and what we have is just a difference of opinion, a difference of priorities, or it may be that I need to up my execution game. Maybe the holster is not good enough. Maybe they're not happy, and their criticism is 100% valid, and then it's on me to fix it, to make it better. JR says, Tom even helped educate me on photography as well. I've since taken on learning more and more, and now I photograph. Photography is really great. Definitely some makers who I draw show price and ask if my head is screwed on straight or if there's something that I've overlooked. I appreciate the router info you share with us. It allowed us to compete at a higher level. Todd, you are very welcome. It is exciting to see companies taking these ideas, these processes, and adapting them. Because no process translates 100% from my shop to anybody else's shop. Every shop is a little bit different. Every process is a little bit different. Because you're making different holsters than I make, you're going to change the process from the way that I do it a little bit. But I want that info to get out there, because there are ways of doing it that you'll come up with that I would never think of, and I can put it out there and then actually receive back more than I put out, because dozens of other people will take my idea, run with it, develop it, refine it, adapt it, and use it to produce things I never thought of. And that's great. Like, the net benefit to me is greater than if I tried to hoard the information, to close up the process, if I put on the aluminum hat, if I put blinders on the windows, and tried to run a closed shop and never let anybody in. And besides, it would be horrible to have no friends in the industry. I mean, if I couldn't talk to holster makers about holster making, who would I talk to about it? Like, clients can only have so much interest in the details of the process, and then their eyes start to glaze over. And they're like, yeah, that's nice. I want to leave now. But you talk to a holster maker, and he says, how did you do that? Or I look at somebody else's work, and I just sit there and look at it and go, how did he do that? You know? $5 says nobody under 28 has noticed what's on Andrew's shirt yet. I picked this one on purpose. My kids, I've got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and probably a next week year old. And my kids saw this shirt and they're like, Dad, what is that? I'm like, kids, this was my childhood. Oh yeah, man, I had a Walkman, went everywhere with me. I always had tapes playing. My headphones were not this cool though, unfortunately. Yeah, JR says it's a toaster. Clark says, I've built my own Swift-style press and had a lot of people asking how and what I did. Realistically, pretty simple, but I told them to buy one from you instead of trying to take money out of your pocket. Clark, I appreciate that. The membraneless former is really awesome, and you for sure get the credit for the Swift press style membraneless former. here's one of the things that that I want to make sure that everybody knows about my designs for the Swift Press. Almost everything that I do in my shop has been adapted from other industries. All the tools I use, like almost nothing is really that unique or proprietary, but the application of it, how exactly I use it, is specific to these products. So before I was getting seriously into the holster game, I worked in custom furniture. I worked for a small company in Indiana that did really high-end custom table and chair sets, bookcases, hall tables, a lot of stuff with exotic woods, bent steel, carved wood, glass, pretty complicated stuff. And we did vacuuming. We did vacuum veneering and vacuum forming, vacuum shaping of stuff, up to 8 by 9 foot, so pretty large stuff. And so I was building and working with table-sized vacuum systems. I used Venturis. I got experience with all kinds of different breather mesh, different ways of sealing parts, different ways of clamping things, all kinds of stuff. Well, when I got into holsters and started doing vacuum forming, I had all that experience, all that relevant knowledge already there, ready to be tapped, ready to be adapted. If you get on the internet and you look into vacuum forming, almost everything that we're doing comes from the movie prop making industry. I mean, it's Star Wars. It's stormtrooper armor. So if you look up like C.R. Clark, I think C.R. Clark, Formec vacuum formers, there are a whole bunch of non-membrane, small format industrial vacuum formers with integrated heaters that have been around for 30 years or more. None of it's new technology, but taking it and putting it in this kind of shop with this kind of plastic, using like t-shirt presses. We didn't invent t-shirt presses. We just borrowed it, and it works great. But somebody else came up with that for a completely different reason. Nobody invented that to heat plastic. I actually had a guy ask me to make a stormtrooper suit out of Codex. Yeah, I mean, the plastics industry is so big, and the applications are so far-reaching, and the kind of stuff we're doing, comparatively, is in such a small field that, you know, funny story. I went hiking when I was a newlywed. My wife and I went camping at Acadia National Park in Maine. And they have mountains. They're not mountains, they're big hills. But they're big stony hills, they're fun to climb. And we went through the park, we hiked all day, and we climbed up the big mountain. And when we got to the top, what we found out is that the whole top of the place was absolutely covered with tourists. We spent hours hiking up there. It turned out there was an access road from the other side we didn't know about. Like we got to the top, like, yeah, we made it to the top of the mountain. And we walked over the top and ended up in a parking lot. It was like we got to the moon and found everybody else that was already there. It's the same thing in this industry. Like, almost everything we're doing is being done somewhere else by somebody else doing something else. It's not that new. And so I can't realistically make a claim to having groundbreaking, out of thin air innovation. Adaptation is innovative. Finding new ways of using existing technologies, using current tools to do new jobs, is a form of innovation. It's valid, it's valuable, it's critical to making a process efficient. We don't have to go out and reinvent every wheel. But it also has to give me some perspective about the stuff that I've done. So the Swift Press is a great vacuum former. I'm proud of it. I'm glad to bring it to market. I'm glad to sell it to holster makers. I'm glad to see holster makers using it, enjoying it, making better product because of it. But I didn't invent an incredibly new thing. And that's why it's not patent pending. Because it's an application innovation. Like, I didn't invent vacuum pumps. I just adapted technology to do what I wanted. The innovation is in personalizing the scale. Yeah. So I think we think of innovation as creating something new, when innovation often is doing something new with something that already existed. Finding a way to hack your process in your shop and speed it up by finding better or new ways of using even tools you already have. Just reorganizing your shop can be an innovation. Like the assembly line production where you lay out the workflow in your shop. Like, big shops that have raw materials come in on pallets at one end and they get taken off the pallets, pre-cut, moved to a forming station, moved to a drilling station, then a trimming station, then a polishing station, then assembly, then shipping and packaging. Then they get all put on a pallet and then they get sent out. Like, somebody did that for the first time and it was innovative. And if you've never spent time looking carefully at your shop workflow, that's something you can do and invest basically $0. Look at your workflow. Actually figure out where you move from place to place to place to place to place in your shop to get stuff done. And look at it really hard and say, would this actually make more sense if I moved this table this way and put this tool on this side and this tool at this corner, so I just walk from this side around the corner to here, not all the way around over to here. That's an innovation. That's a way of saving time. And so part of the way to deal with, to move beyond the grudges and bad blood, I think is just to step back and get a new kind of perspective on this, which is everybody's trying to innovate, everybody's trying to build a better holster, everybody's trying to save money and deliver a better product. Like, I get excited about the market. I get excited about selling. I get excited about improving my designs. The idea of going out, sorry, I've got almost a James Yeager going on here, and it's not because my shirt's too tight, it's just because it's sweaty. But if you see me like, well, something's met over my shoulder. Got a little bit of James Yeager. Like, when it comes to innovation and people adapting your processes, adapting your innovations, and taking them and making them their own, changing them, just chill out. It's a big enough field for all of us. And if you have good customer service, you deliver a good holster, you deliver it on time, and you back it up, I think that plus some marketing and you're good. If you want to become the next bajillionaire holster maker, that's a different question. But in terms of building a stable, profitable, successful business that is able to gain and retain clients that are happy with the work and happy with the product, there's not a mystery to it. It's make a good, to be better every day. Every week, every holster, raise the bar. Love your passion for what you do. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you spending time with me on a weekday evening. I get excited about this. I have lots of other ideas for things that are going to be in Facebook Live broadcasts. If you have questions and there are things you want to see a broadcast on, some part of my process, some question about design, whatever it is, email me, orders@henryholsters.com. Send me a text, 812-369-2266, or DM me on Instagram. If you have something you want to know and you think I can help you learn about it, let me know, and I'm happy to do that. The only limitation on my work is because I do private label work for a bunch of different companies, there are certain things that I have to be a little guarded about, not because it's primarily about protecting my process, but it's about protecting my clients' investments in their process. And so I can show general production principles, process stuff. I can't give ins and outs and details on other people's holsters that I designed or other molds that I designed for them. And I can't always give exact numbers, like how deep do you mold the retention to do this exactly? Well, even if I gave you a number, That's somewhat dependent on which plastic. Are you using Kydex, Boltron, or Holstex? Are you using a membrane former or a non-membrane former? Are you using machine molds, DIY drones, multi-molds? How hot are you heating? How many CFM is your pump? Like, so many factors get involved there that it isn't possible to take my process and translate it 100% to your shop. And whenever I sell a Swift press and sell molds and do design work for a customer, so here's a good thing. This is the overview of my custom mold process. If you come to me and you want to order a custom mold, up front we discuss, take care, Charlie. I will get back to you in a day or two with my feedback on the hardware once I've had a chance to play with it a little more. If you order a custom mold, we discuss specs. I get photos of your existing design. I may ask you to send me one of your current holsters so I can look it over in detail, up close, take measurements, see what I need to see about how you're currently producing, how the retention feels, exactly how high it rides on the belt, all that stuff. And then I work up a CAD design and machine a test mold. And then I send you the test mold and say, take 2 weeks, make holsters on it, test them, wear them, send them out to some customers whose feedback you trust, because I want to make sure that using your plastic, your vacuum pump, your vacuum former, using your whole process in your shop with you running it, that you're able to get the results you want off this mold. Because it doesn't matter if I can make a bomber holster off it every time. If I send it to you and it doesn't work in your shop, it doesn't work. Collaboration. Back in the day, Rich from Concealed Carry Concepts and IBS, my holsters and improvement Montes, we talked, and mine drove his design, we talked to, and then he drove my design. Argument for obtaining a patent is that it allows you to exploit your IP, meaning someone can take your idea, patent it, and prevent you from making the product you've developed. Yes, Jefferson Brooks, open sourcing things is a risk. And the reason I'm confident enough to take the risk is I know how many irons I have in the fire. I know how quickly I can get up to speed on new ideas. I know how quickly I can prototype a new design, and I know I can work around patents. And so that was probably the biggest reason why I almost patented a few of my previous products, was not because I intended to go out and sue people for copying them, but because I wanted to preempt somebody patenting it out from under me and then trying to sue me. In US patent law, it's not first to produce, it's first to file. So if you make something and I make something, you made it first, but I file the patent first. If I get the patent, I can stop you from making your thing. I can sue you, even if you can prove you made yours before mine. The trade-off is that there's a 1-year limit. It's called a 12-month statutory bar, something like that, legalese. If you have a product and you bring it to market and you sell it for 12 months, once that 12-month window has elapsed, can't patent it. If you change it, update it, make significant revisions or improvements, you can patent those. But if you bring something to market and you put it out there and it's hot and you're selling for a year, your chance to patent it basically goes away. Sam Cummins, bro, I don't offer lefty holsters. So this is a place where I'm leaving white space in the market for somebody else to jump in and make bank. And this is another place where grudges and bad blood hurt you, hurt me, hurt the industry. And I don't really care about the industry. Like, the industry isn't a person. The industry doesn't get hurt feelings. But the industry is an ecosystem that I work in, that I live in. And if that environment is toxic, if that environment is filled with negativity, if that environment is filled with backbiting and with gossip and with slander, that's bad. It hurts my company. It's awful. I don't want to be there. But one of the ways that I've grown my company is by narrowing my lane. I've restricted the range of things I offered and worked really hard to make them really good. What that means is the whole lane over here, all this space, I'm not in it. If you do anything for Crimson Trace or Viridian, guess what? I'm not in your lane, period. I'm not competing with you at all on those. I offer nothing for them. If you, as a business model, want to go out and you want to market as your niche, we are a left-handed holster company. I mean, part of the reason, Sam, why I don't do a lot of lefty stuff is just development costs. It costs a lot of money to make CNC machine molds and make trim molds and do all that for a right-handed holster. I'm convinced, and this is where I have a difference of opinion with John, I'm convinced that side-specific holsters are a greater benefit than they are a cost. An ambidextrous holster has inventory benefits. You can pull the same holster out of a bin, put the attachment on one side or the other, package it up, and out the door it goes. So your number of molds is cut in half, the amount of inventory you have to carry is cut in half. Everything's made simpler. The trade-off is you can't build side-specific enhancements into the holster. Money well spent, says Mike Sedlichik. Thank you, Mike. And what I've done is, rather than building right and left-handed versions of everything, I just decided to focus on right-handed, which means there's a whole bunch of the market that's wide open for somebody else to come in and build a successful growing business marketing to lefties. The trade-off is, statistically, lefties are a much, much smaller part of the market. And so there isn't as much room for as many companies in the lefty market. But I have other holster makers who I routinely refer work to if somebody wants something I don't make. And there's no bad blood about that. I've got a list of 4 or 5 guys who I refer holsters to regularly. If somebody wants something for SIG, guess what? They're getting referred. If they want something with Viridian, Crimson Trace, or TLR 3 or 4, they're getting referred. If they want something for Walter, Ruger, if they want anything for a revolver, they're getting referred to somebody else. I'm happy to take that business and pass it along to somebody else. Yeah, Sam Cummins, it is shameless handism. No question. I did a cost-benefit analysis where my business was, with the amount of money I was investing into my process and the amount of man hours I had available personally to invest into my process. It was obvious to me that it was not going to be a wise decision to try to co-equally invest into right and left-handed lines. I don't have time to do it. This is the same reason why I scaled and scaled and scaled and scaled back the gun models. Like, if I made CNC machine molds for a Walther P99, would I sell some? Probably. How long would it take me to sell enough to make back just the cost of developing the molds? Way too long. It's just not there. And so somebody else using a multi-mold can make more money doing that inefficiently, but they can still make more than I can do because my cost of getting into that is going to be so much higher. Or paddles, yeah. Anything that's a paddle with a paddle attachment, any hybrid holsters, all that stuff gets referred. And if I stick to my lane, I leave space for other companies to build their brand in space where we can work together, we can collaborate, we can sharpen each other by improving each other's designs through criticism, through feedback, just through observation. But we're not competing directly for the same market. We might even have the same customer. He might get a SIG holster from you, and he might get a Glock 17 appendix holster from me, or maybe a Glock 34 with X300 Ultra B holster from me, and a City Special from John. And we can actually share a client, share a customer, and yet not be competing because we're not overlapping. And I don't have any reason to be upset with anybody who's doing something different than I do. If they have different priorities, I can disagree with their priorities and still respect the quality of their work, respect the integrity of their business, and have a difference of opinion about the priorities of their holster. That being said, like the green graveyard scully slime Kydex, nah, don't do it. There are some, friends don't let friends wear certain kinds of holsters. Several guys and I do that often. Makes more sense for everyone. So, when it comes to grudges, if you have grudges that you hold in the industry, you may have an opportunity someday to try to stick it to that person and do something to get them back. But do you really want to hold on to that long, hoping for that opportunity to get your pound of flesh back from somebody? Like, even if some other company deliberately hurt you, deliberately hurt your branding, deliberately tried to wreck a sales opportunity for you, the more you hang on to that, the more you're still letting them hurt you now. And, I have enough things in my own shop that make me angry, that the idea of hanging on to anger about something else that somebody else did to me or to my business years ago, it's just crazy. I don't have time for that. I don't have energy for that. Rick Wayne is going to stab Conrad Miller in the back. He's going to get him. Well, I was a high school teacher. I love Shakespeare. One of my favorite plays is The Merchant of Venice. The whole point of the character, Shylock, is that he's a guy who's absolutely driven by a lust for revenge. When people slight him, when people mock him, he can't let it go. And he's always on the lookout for an opportunity to get them back, to pay them back. And, the end result is the guy loses everything. He's a miserable, pitiable guy, pitiable character in the play. And he just can't let go. And at the end, he finally loses completely. Yeah, seriously, we're in a small and large world. Everyone knows everyone, but at the same time, no one knows who your company is. It's strange. Just be a good dude, and good stuff will come your way. I sincerely believe that if I work to keep an open door, that if I'm willing to do work with people who approach me in good faith in the industry and want to know what I can help them with, I would rather be giving more than taking back. It's possible in a business relationship, whether it's paid, consulting, or just friendship, just shooting the breeze, just talking about stuff. There's a way of trying to get more than you're giving, and there's a way of giving more than you're getting. And if I can give more out, and the result is that guys around me in the industry level up their game, and it pushes my bar higher, then I'm getting and getting and getting. The knowledge I put out is actually getting me residuals. Knowledge residuals. Maybe sometimes money residuals, but knowledge residuals. Every time I send a Swift Press out, I am so excited to see what the person who gets it is going to do with it that I haven't thought of. And when I see posts on social media from companies using the Swift Press, I am excited. Not just because I'm like, oh yeah, hey, they're almost as cool as me. They're using stuff I developed. No, I'm excited because they're going to do things with it that I haven't done before. They're going to take my idea and they're going to take it into new fields. They're going to use it like I don't do knife sheaths on the Swift Press. I know you can. I've done some, but that's not a regular production item that I run a lot of. I would love to see guys who are knife makers like grab hold of the Swift Press non-membrane concept and go out and just start killing it, making gorgeous knife sheaths with a level of definition they couldn't get before and a speed they couldn't get before, and be pushing the boundaries in the knife sheath making industry using something that I developed that they adapted and brought their A game and did new things with it. That's really exciting to me. I have that Merchant of Venice, and it is really good. There's a few spots where Pacino's a little bit too Pacino. I expect him to, like, you know, whip out a knife and say hello to my little friend. But on the whole, the Pacino Merchant of Venice is good. But there's still, I don't know if you guys ever do this. Sometime, so step out of the holster world for a second into the English literature nerd. Okay? Get some friends together, buy some beer, sit down and read some Shakespeare. It's awesome. Like, I spend a lot of time in my shop. I work a lot of late nights out here. My life cannot all be grind, 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 grind. And it's so fun to get together with friends. And like, last time I got together with some friends, we had a Shakespeare night. The youngest person reading was like 10. The oldest person reading was almost 90. And it was awesome. We had every age in between. We just take turns trading off books, trading off characters, and just reading Shakespeare. It's awesome. Find things that make you happy. It can't all be holsters. But, you know, if your holster process frustrates you, don't hide it. Don't cover it up. Don't be sitting in your shop thinking, this process sucks. I can never get through this problem. I'm never making progress on this step. Put it out there. Ask for help on social media. Call me. Call somebody else. And have the goal be getting the level up. Because if you're too proud to ask for outside eyes on your process, if you're too proud to ask somebody else to audit you, then other people who are willing to take that criticism, to take being audited, to take getting negative reviews, to take that information in, learn from it, have that motivate them to push harder, to improve the product, to improve the process, those are the guys that are going to accelerate and are going to move forward by leaps and by bounds. You know, I want that energy. You might say, well, I thought you were saying negativity is bad. I'm saying grudges are bad. Bad blood. Holding on to negativity and having something against somebody, you know, hating people in the industry, that's bad. Receiving criticism is good. That's what you need to push to the next level. So that's pretty much going to be it for me tonight. I got some other parts I got to run. I got to warm the brother up. I have a whole bunch of holsters to trim up for John Hoffman at Filster and some other parts to trim up for some other companies that I can't name. Oh, by the way, just putting this out there. Actually, how am I going to put that out there? We're getting ready to launch some new HDPE molds. Conrad Miller's working on the CAD. I don't have an actual production delivery date for those. He works up the CAD. He's got all this 3D scanning workflow in his shop. He gives me the solid models. I do a little tweaking. I do all the CAM and the machining programming. And then I run prototypes, send them to him. We test them. We make sure everything's good. And then I run production batches. So we're probably still a couple weeks out. But I think we're going to have XDS, VP9. I know some guys have asked about Glock 19 with XC1. And so that's what I wanted to put out there. As we move through the next round, we'll be looking for the round after that. So let me know, let Conrad know what you want to see next. Ask for anything. We might say no, we might say yes. It'll depend on how much demand we get for each individual model. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, please check it out. Instagram Henry Holsters is my channel on there, my feed over there. And I will be posting updates anytime I'm going to do a Facebook Live video. I'll try to give at least a few hours notice with a post or two on Instagram, giving the topic so you know what's going to be discussed and when it's going live, and you can tag people over there, invite your friends, and then sit down, make some popcorn, pop open a cold beer, and join me in the shop. So I think 320, dude, JR, we've got the Glock 19. Conrad has it in stock. You can get it shipped tomorrow. So don't let that stop you. I think also the SIG P320 is in the next batch. I actually did a bezel down flashlight here with a membrane-less. Was a cool feel. Yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff with a membrane-less former. We have just begun to scratch the surface. I probably only have somewhere between 50 and 70, 50 to 60 Swift presses out there. Not that many. There is tons of room in the market for guys to adopt this technology and scale it and find new cool ways of doing stuff with it. So anything that I can put out, take it, run with it. You know, I'd appreciate the credit. That makes me feel good. I enjoy that. But it's not just about that. I watch your guys' companies. I watch your Instagram feeds. I look at what you make, and it helps me level up. I see new ways of doing things. I see cool, efficient, slick solutions. And I also see often like really, really sharp, classy aesthetic work. And I look at my stuff and it's like, wow, my work looks like a Ford Taurus. I know it goes really fast, it's really efficient, and it works really well. But, you know, when it comes to aesthetics, some of you guys are bringing your A game, and I'm just sort of leaving that part of my holsters alone. Like, somewhere in the shop, I actually have laser engraved stamps and stays-on ink, and I don't even use it. I don't even logo my holsters. So I need to get back on the ball with that. But, yeah, I'll probably have another Facebook Live video either Friday or Saturday of this week. If there's something in particular you want to see, drop me a line. Let me know. Thank you very much for coming back. I'm sorry the video dropped, so tonight was kind of a split feed. Those of you who came back and stuck around for the second half of the broadcast, I very much appreciate it. And hope to catch you next time. Thank you very much, guys. Good night.